Hi, welcome to Sandra's Sisterhood. I'm Carrie. This is a YouTube channel for the single and for the childless, not by choice person. It is Monday, which means we're doing a question and answer video today. And today the topic is going to be the holidays when you're single and when you're childless, not by choice. So let's get to it. Question 1. Why do the holidays feel emotionally heavier for me than other times of the year? So for me personally, I don't know that they feel so much heavier now. I think for a very long time, particularly when I was feeling much more of the grief on a daily basis, they did feel really heavy. And they felt that way, I think, looking back. One, because it's grief and you're thinking about how you're spending the holidays versus how you had always thought you would, how you imagined you would, maybe even how you dreamed that you would. And there's loss in that, and it's very difficult. I think particularly when you're childless, that loss is often unseen. It's a non-event. If you go through infertility, it can be a lot of events, but it's not considered like a death, even though for infertility, it could very well be a death. It also is the death of how you thought your life would be, which is very difficult, especially when we live in a world or a society where different options aren't really shown in a way in which someone's living their best life, where they're happy, fulfilled, have meaning. We're given a lot more messages about how unfulfilled life is if you don't have children. And so there's a lot to manage around that, particularly around the holidays, which are so quote unquote family centric. And I say that with quotes because family is a lot of different things, but we generally really narrowly define family as parents and children. So I think that's the other piece. Your experience can feel really unseen. And it's a time where people really talk about family. They talk about kids. Not only do the people talk about it, but the shows that we watch, the topics on the podcast, the topics on YouTube, the images that we see in the mall, or the images that we just see driving down the street or on the radio. Like, it's everywhere. It's pervasive and it's everywhere. So I think in terms of like the guard that we have up or our stamina, we're using so much more of it that it just starts to feel like a lot of weight. That's my experience. Number 2, how do you handle being asked why I'm not spending the holidays with a partner or a kid? Now I just say I don't have them, but I don't feel as much shame or embarrassment as I used to. I do feel it sometimes, depending on the circles that I'm in, who's asking, what follow-up questions they're then asking. I try and be more prepared for that question now. For me, I do feel lucky enough that I spend them with my mom. So I say that, yeah, I'm spending them with my mom and Gavin, who's my Great Dane. Thankfully, I have that answer there. And, it is hard though. And so I don't want to minimize that. It's actually really hard. I think a lot of people, when you're spending the holidays in a way that seems against the norm, it can feel like you're less than, or there's shame and embarrassment, which are really difficult feelings to have. I think that's why the holidays are really difficult for lots of people, whether you have conflict with family members or aren't able to be with family members for whatever reason. But I usually just say, I don't have kids and I'm not married. And then I let the silence sit. That's me. I used to try and fill that silence in, make the other person feel more comfortable. Now I just let it sit. 3, what do I do if family gatherings feel painful, overwhelming, or triggering? This is one of the things I talk about in the book, the workbook that I wrote for people who are childless, not by choice, about managing the holidays. I'll put that in the description below if you're interested. But one of the things that I do is I have a plan on what types of events am I going to go to and what type of events am I not going to go to. And I hold that boundary and I feel okay with that boundary. I remind myself that it's okay to put my own mental health first, and it's okay not to put myself in uncomfortable situations, because the holidays are meant to be what they are for me too. Like the holidays are meant to also be kind of fun for me. And so I'm going to do the things that are fun for me, even if that means that I say no to other events. Again, it took time to get to this place, but oftentimes I'll just decline, like RSVP no if someone asks and I don't want to go, or if they send an email, or if someone asks me, I'll just say that's not going to fit into my schedule right now, depending on who's asking. But unless it's somebody I know really well, I keep it more vague. If I know them really well, sorry, that's Gavin, then I may explain to them a little bit more of that, hey, this is I anticipate this could be really difficult for me, so I'm going to protect my peace and go do this other thing, or decline your invitation, but I'd love to meet up after the holidays. So those are the ways in which I usually handle those. But if you don't want to do something, it's okay not to put yourself through this really triggering, terrible experience, and it's okay to say no. How can I manage loneliness during the holiday season? I think this is a good question too, because loneliness can feel amplified during the holiday season. I think for all of those reasons that I mentioned earlier. You know, people are talking about going and visiting people, going to parties, gathering together. We see it on our shows. We see it on YouTube. We hear it on podcasts. We see it out. Like there's just more of that. And when you're not feeling like you're able to take part in some of these fun things, yeah, it can feel very lonely. The ways that I handle it are I try and identify the things that I want to do and then intentionally schedule those things. Whether that's I wanted to do the rail bike thing, so I did that, or I wanted to go see Celtic women, so I did that, or I want to go to the botanical garden light show, so I'm hoping to be able to do that. So I try and identify some of the traditions that I want to do, and then on more of the daily basis, I try and have things planned for the weekend. So I've got the books that I want to read through the holiday season. I have the puzzles that I want to do through the holiday season. Those are the things that are really interesting to me this year. And I try and have these things that I'm looking forward to so I can focus on what I am going to do versus the things that I might be missing out on. What boundaries should I set to protect my emotional well-being in December? This is a great question. And I think only you know what boundaries are going to be best for you. I would say not to be afraid to set those boundaries. You may get some pushback, but it is okay to put your oxygen mask on first, which is the cliche. If you don't want to go to a gathering, it's okay. You don't have to. If you don't want to spend a bunch of money to travel, it's okay. You don't have to. It's also okay to change your mind, unless there's some like reservation piece around it. So I would keep that in mind too. Like be open to the idea that your feelings might fluctuate a little bit and swing back and forth a little bit. It's okay to say no to going to the work party. It's okay to say no to going to the party that your friend is planning and everybody there is going to be bringing their +1 and you're not. I don't do that anymore. I don't go to that. I don't want to go to that. It's not fun for me. And it's my holiday too. And so I want to spend my time doing the things that I want to do. It's going to take a lot for me to leave my dog by himself and go and do something. I don't feel guilty about that anymore. How do I create holiday traditions that feel meaningful without a partner or children? I love this question. This is also part of the workbook that I have for people who are childless, not by choice during the holidays. And think about the things you like to do and really try and get your brain to think outside of the holidays even. So maybe you used to like go see the Nutcracker and you really want to go do that and continue that. Or maybe you used to go do that, but you don't want to go do that anymore because it reminds you of not having children, or, it's going to be filled with a bunch of moms and their daughters or sons, things like that. Maybe you do something that's similar to it. Like maybe you go see an adult concert instead, like Celtic Women or the Symphony instead of the Nutcracker. Identify the things that you like to do. And again, they don't have to necessarily be these things you grew up doing. It could be something completely different. Maybe you're going to go travel on the holiday. Maybe you're going to go to the Caribbean instead of staying at home. Maybe you're going to get a cheaper flight because you're going to leave on Christmas versus staying at home. And that's your tradition. Maybe you stay at home and you just were watching movies all day or reading. Like the things that feel good for you. Maybe instead of doing a whole bunch of Christmas cookies, because it reminds you of what you wished you were going to do with your kids, you're going to try a bunch of different simmer pots each weekend. There's ways that you can kind of tweak it to where you can make it more adult or your own, but sort of be side by side with some of those old traditions. Let me know what works for you. I would love to hear some of the traditions that you do as someone who is single and someone who is childless, not by choice, in the comments below. If you're looking for the workbook to help manage the holidays, if you're childless, not by choice, I'll put the link below. You can find it on Amazon. I also have a coloring book for people who are childless, not by choice during the holidays that you can find too. Coloring can be a really soothing, calming thing, especially at night. And if you want something that's geared particularly toward you, you can check it out on Amazon as well. Subscribe to Sandra's Sisterhood, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.